I turned it on for about 5 to 10 minutes last night, and my main takeaway was that they're back to using "Make America Great Again." They're not doing "Keep America Great" anymore. Which I mean, look out the window. It's like, is America great yet? Obviously not. No one is under the illusion that Trump.
Yeah, you have to make a lateral move.
Yeah, and in what by what metric has Trump made America great again? By giving more money to the military? Like, that's not something that your average Joe is really feeling the effects of, or feeling like their life is improved by. So yeah, I thought it was funny that initially he was going to go with "Keep America Great," but then it seemingly, after the coronavirus pandemic exposed his charade, now he's back to "Make America Great Again." 4 more years, the best is yet to come, is another thing they kept saying.
I think that they should have gone with "It's morning again in America." That was what Ronald Reagan did, and they already stolen one off of his shit once.
Yep.
You can't do the "Keep America Great" if your whole shit is that you're not doing anything to make the country better except, your rich crony allies.
Yeah.
I think it basically just cemented the fact that, like, they only were going to put up people who had gotten behind the president, right? They were really trying to pretend that, or I mean, maybe they aren't pretending, but they were really trying to show a unification behind.
Yeah.
I guess in the same way that Bernie and AOC were there to show a unification behind Joe. They were trying to, like, this is our guy. Like, we're not going anywhere. Like, Trump's doing a great job. Like, we're going deeper into the illusions. And I still think that that's a losing strategy for them because they haven't done anything big at all. I thought what was going to happen if Trump was going to come around is that he would have figured out a way to make an executive order happen that actually got money in people's hands.
Yeah.
And he would have done another thing where his name was on every check and it came in October. Or maybe it will come in October, but like he was going to announce it today and then have it arrive right before the fucking election so that people remember, like, Trump gets people money in there. I thought that was going to be his route, where he was going to be like, hey guys, fuck all of you. Stop giving me campaign donations. I'm about to raise your taxes half of 1% and get this election back. Like, I thought that was the smarter strategy for him. It doesn't seem like they've gone that route. It seems like they're just kind of pretending that coronavirus is over. They're hoping that it kind of continues to be this slow staggering out and that we don't see a spike in cases. A lot of places are kind of going back to normal, it seems like, even in California. I mean, a lot of people bitch about California, but I was just in LA, and as somebody from Kansas City, it seems like a lot of shit is open there. I mean, people are on the beaches everywhere. People are walking around eating. People are eating outside. I know there's a lot more shit that you can do outside. So it seems like people are getting back to normal in a weird way, but that hasn't helped Trump's chances at all. It seems like, he's come back a little bit, but I still think, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's coming up short.
I think people are getting to the point where they're going back to normal just because they have to, and because they're not going to keep staying inside for the rest of their lives if the government's not really going to help them in any substantial way. But yeah, I think the convention has been just so kind of performative, with all these people kind of pretending that we're in a better place than we are. Despite the fact that if you're just a healthy person and you're just living your life, you may not at this point be realizing the effects of coronavirus all that much. There's still 1,500 deaths every week or something insane like that. Like these numbers that are just being increasingly kind of glossed over and ignored. But regardless, the statistics are piling up. This is a mass fatality event on a regular basis. And to see the Republicans just try to completely gloss over it and kind of, remember how great the economy was before the pandemic,
Yeah.
Like, remember
as if this didn't happen.
Everything was going, as if it even was. But so they've grabbed their few favorite economic indicators, which don't actually mean anything to your average person, with the stock market and everything. And they've kind of used that to try to put on this charade that, everything is fine, and that, President Trump is this strong, force of leadership that we need right now. When in reality, it's just, it's not like people have been asleep for the past few months. Everyone remembers seeing Trump making an ass of himself on TV on a daily basis at the beginning of the coronavirus. And even before that, totally denying the coronavirus. Let's not forget that he defunded the pandemic preparedness agencies. These kind of things aren't, they're still fresh in people's minds. It's not like a few debates or something are going to totally, remove those memories from people's minds. And so many people have had to shut down their businesses or lose their job, or they know people that have. Plenty of kids that have, just finished college, had big plans. They've had to put those on hold. This is affecting people's lives in big ways. And I think for the RNC to just kind of say the best is yet to come, and we haven't done anything yet. We haven't given you any substantial help yet, but if you give us 4 more years, we're going to. I don't think it's a winning message, and honestly, I think that as cringy as the DNC was,
Yeah, the
I guess
RNC actually makes it look a little better.
yeah, I mean, at least the DNC was a little bit more in touch with reality as far as at least acknowledging what we're up against and the fact that we are gonna, the current leadership strategy has not been working.
Well, it almost felt like the DNC was the RNC 20 years ago.
Yeah,
like
literally.
you know what I mean? Like you had Colin Powell, you had John Kasich, you had and then you have like a John Kerry figure, Bill Clinton, who always should have been a Republican.
Yep.
It really just seems like, this is a 2000 like less evangelical Republican Party. Like all of their economic policy, it's Republican policy. Their healthcare plan, it was the Mitt Romney's healthcare plan, right, with the Affordable Care Act. That's what Joe Biden's riding with now. We're gonna strengthen and expand the Affordable Care Act because me and Barack Obama, remember Barack Obama, my pal, my good fella, Barack Obama, whom I know and is friends with me. Those are the two things that they're going with. It's like Joe Biden isn't Trump and he knows Obama. Like that is the strategy. And I hate that it's a winning strategy, but I think that it is because that's the only way that you can sell Joe Biden to the public is that he's not Trump and that he, is friends with Joe Biden.
And
Barack Obama.
And
sorry, I just had my own Joe Biden moment.
Amusingly enough, it's almost as if the Trump campaign is trying to convince people like me to vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris because they keep trying to convince us that they're puppets of Bernie Sanders and the radical left and that they're actually, in fact, going to implement a grand sweeping socialist ideology. Someone at the convention last night even said that if given the chance, Biden would implement a socialist utopia. So
I wish, right?
It's like, shit, maybe I should vote for these people.
I would fucking get up for that.
It's a hilariously backward strategy by the Trump camp, given that a lot of the people that are least enthusiastic about the ticket are people that in fact want to go in a more socialist direction, that are not okay with the status quo. People like me who actually want the Democrats to embrace FDR style change that they, pretend to want to do, but then never actually do when push comes to shove. If Biden was actually campaigning on bold policies of, socialist style redistribution of wealth and these times of gross inequalities, that would make his message even more populist, even better, even more palatable for people like me who don't really consider themselves parts of the Democratic Party as it currently is structured, at least at the leadership levels. So yeah, I think the Trump camp is just increasingly shooting themselves in the foot. Strategy.
I think it's just so revealing that they don't give a shit about this base of voters. They only are fighting over the suburban PMC class. That is the election right there, right? And it's Trump trying to say, Trump knows his base, right? And he was trying to talk to those people and he was telling them, Hillary, Benghazi and like all that shit back in 2016. You can't sell that anymore. That's already been sold. And Joe Biden, through all of his flaws, and while I and you may hold the same or very similar levels of disdain for him that we hold for somebody like Hillary Clinton because he's, orchestrated massive amounts of terror and wrongdoing and unconscionable behavior and destructive actions. But to the general public, he was the guy who was licking ice cream cones with Barack Obama. He looked like a charming guy when I was in middle school and high school. And I hadn't read on politics. Joe, he seems completely harmless. The vice president isn't even a real job. He's there to wear aviator sunglasses and take photo ops. It seems like he's a harmless guy. So people don't and also his life has been marked. He's been marked by tremendous tragedy. And I don't want to say that he's used that for political gain, but it softens people's fucking perception of it. It softens my perception.
He's absolutely over and over again. But yeah, I grant you, it is touching and all that.
When you hear this, you don't want to call somebody out for the fact that their wife and child died,
right.
But he, what I mean. He's and then his son with the cancer. It's very tragic, but yeah, he brings it up a lot. And he uses that to relate to working people who are suffering, right? And I think that that's wrong because he's not suffering in the way that they're suffering, and that's not to say that his pain isn't real, but it's just not the same pain, right? It's a different kind of economic reality. It's very different. So I don't know. I think that going after him the same way that you go after Hillary Clinton as somebody who's like an evil person who's also going to be like a manipulator, mastermind, like he doesn't come across as a mastermind. He comes across as a guy that's just there. Hey, man, status quo Joe. That's who I am. I'm going to get us back to the status quo. You don't like hearing about politics? Remember when you could just be friends with anybody and it didn't matter what your politics were, buddy? Hey, I'm that guy. Hey, remember when we could just swipe everything under the rug and just pretend that America was the best country in the world and just in face of whatever the fuck kind of evidence came otherwise? I want to go back to that too. Come vote for me. I'm status quo Joe.
Yeah. And also, I think it's stupid that the Republicans are really trying to paint Biden as like a puppet of the Chinese government and all this shit. Like
Dude, that's fucking crazy.
Similarly to how the Democrats, have spent the last 4 years trying to paint
Russia.
Trump as and it's just like it's so stupid to think that your average American voter really gives a fuck about these stupid, elaborate, like 1950s style conspiracies that the two parties are making up about each other. Like, okay, sure, there might be some difference between Biden's approach to China and Trump's approach to China, and most people understand that nuance and realize it, and frankly don't really care because it doesn't really affect their life all that much. But for Trump and the RNC to try to make this like dumb argument about Biden, who, like you said, is basically just kind of like a sympathetic, doddering old man in your eyes of most voters, to be this like nefarious puppet of a foreign regime, as if most people have this anti-Chinese sentiment right now. Most people don't give a fuck. A lot of Asian culture is actually pretty popular in America, and it just seems so antiquated and so obvious what they're doing, trying to whip up this kind of like xenophobic frenzy of like, ooh, the Chinese, Joe Biden is soft on the Chinese government and like all this shit, and it just comes off as so lame. Just like I said, just like when the Democrats do it, like no one is clamoring for another Cold War. No one wants another Cold War in this country except for, I guess, the Pentagon. But
Rachel
like,
Maddow.
yeah, Rachel Maddow, the people that want to whip up this fear mongering to for their cable news ratings, and ultimately the main people that it works on is old folks that are at home all day and that are watching cable news, and it is effective propaganda. And a lot of people, or some people that give a shit about politics in that age range, really do think that Trump is this puppet of Russia and that there's this elaborate conspiracy going on, that because of how effective and how relentless MSNBC has been in their propaganda as far as the Russiagate stuff goes. So it's just mind-numbing to see the Republicans now doing the same shit but with China. And
Well,
I just think it's a stupid strategy.